I can't wait to get to recent events, but I'm really chomping at the bit to find out how your fishing trip with Bryce Mitchell went.
Oh, it was an absolute blast. Honestly, it was the one part of the US trip that I enjoyed. I didn't enjoy the. I went to New York. Yeah, I'm not really an outgoing person. I went to Miami. I went to New York. You know, I wrestled with Armin Sarukian. A little bit of a humiliation ritual there, as you do as a content creator these days. But the fishing trip with Bryce Mitchell was one where I was like, this is a really enjoyable moment, and I've enjoyed this day. Overall, it was everything I expected it to be. It was a real trip, to be honest with you.
All right. Did he enlighten you with any like grand philosophies that you didn't know before?
There was a bunch that couldn't make YouTube that I have, but may not reveal, and probably won't reveal out of the the pact.
Sort of a code, right?
It's like a moral code between us. But the fishing trip was great, dude. We spent a night out in the water. I mean, I went there expecting it to be a few hours, and it ended up, I got to his about 2 p.m. and I didn't leave his until 4 a.m. that night. Who was the better the whole time
and or luckier fisherman? Reveal it.
We didn't catch a fish.
Neither of you?
It was a tie.
Neither of us caught a fish. I'm still on the fence of whether or not there were fish in the lake that we were in. if not for some movement that was going on, I would have honestly guessed that there were no fish in this lake that we were in. But we did have a couple bites, but we had a little different way of fishing. It wasn't the usual fishing rod, sit there and wait for it. We were doing like trout lines. I don't know if you saw, but you tie one end of the line to a tree and the other end to another line, and then you put little moments of bait throughout that line and let it sink to the bottom. So it was like a certain thing, but he was like had this goal of us catching a catfish, and for me to try catfish nuggets, which he said are like one of the most underrated foods that you can have, and you're gonna love them. But it was more about the fish that we didn't catch along the way, if you know what I'm saying. You know, it was we just shared stories on the boat. We got into conspiracies. At some point, he swore he heard Bigfoot
on that trip.
Yeah, while we were on the boat, you know, he said that's Bigfoot. We've heard him out here. We've heard rumors of him. So there were a lot of like climatic moments.
I think it was you. Maybe he caught a glimpse. Just saying. If the shoe fits.
Yeah.
He thinks that Bigfoot lives in Arkansas?
I mean, where else would Bigfoot live? I don't know.
In the Pacific Northwest.
Like Washington.
I didn't realize there was fact-based geolocation for
so it's based on a real animal called Gigantopithecus that actually lived in the Pacific Northwest area of the U.S., Canada, those parts of near Alaska, like that region of the planet. So like not Arkansas so much.
Yeah, I've heard Rogan go in on the Gigantopithecus and how it could have been a real thing, that maybe people saw the last of the Gigantopithecus and then
the Thunderbirds as well.
Yeah. True.
Thunderbirds were these giant birds that were big enough to like yoink a kid and take them off, and the natives had like stories about those birds, and people were like, oh, they believe in sky birds, and they were like, holy shit, look at this beak I found, Mike. It's like, you know, there were Thunderbirds.
There were some noises.
There was a toucan.
Yeah, there were some noises that we heard out there that I'd rather it have been Bigfoot, because the idea of a man wandering around the middle of nowhere in Arkansas and making these noises around us while we're in the boat was scarier. We heard a gunshot at one point. Like, that's almost more of a scary thing. Humans are way scarier than mythology.
And the two of you can more than handle yourselves, but you don't know what you don't know how many people there are, what kind of weaponry they brought. I could beat Bryce Mitchell if I have a gun.
But if Bryce has a gun, there's no.
I'm making the rules in this scenario. I can beat Bryce Mitchell in two things: if I have a gun and strictly over the internet.
I love my chances against anyone if I have a gun and they don't.
Yeah.
Like, undefeated. 100-0. Just put them in the ring.
That seems to be the standard. You know, you're good odds if you have a weapon of mass destruction.
And a little distance.
I don't want to sound too English here by saying mass destruction with a simple revolver, but Bryce Mitchell with a gun is someone you do not want to encounter in the fields of Arkansas at night. I tell you, dude, that's a dangerous
Yeah, that sounds like a problem.
We had a blast.
Have you at gunpoint and be like, the earth is flat. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
I always kind of questioned it.
Yeah. No, but he's actually the nicest person I've ever met in my whole life, which is, I was expecting him to be nice, but it was real. I hear about Southern hospitality as an Englishman, and I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. But he was extra, like he had a place for me to stay. He cooked for us, like everything, dude. He was just the nicest man. And there was no mask slip where he got sick of this act of being nice that he was putting up. Like that was genuinely
intellectual, actually.
How long was it?
Yeah.
Like
how long was it?
Yeah, how long did you hang?
I got there at 2 p.m. left at 4 a.m. So it was the whole day and then the whole night. We chilled in the day at the farm, and then we spent about, honestly, like 10 hours out on the lake. It was crazy. Damn. And then we got back to his, ripped the bong, and that's where the true stories and conversations began.
That
was the biggest trip for me, dude. That's something I'll remember. Like, I remember the day when I was ripping the bong with Bryce Mitchell in his camper eating steaks and talking all sorts. It was a good time.
We were talking about this a while back. The commentary team, we've kind of had it with the UFC commentary team. I got nothing against Joe Rogan, but his commentary sucks. DC's is so biased and so bad. Bisping has become one of my favorites because at least he'll talk about fighting occasionally. I would love to have you and Bryce Mitchell do my commentary because your play-by-play is legitimately like S tier. Like it's as good as any pro that is on an ESPN broadcast. It's better, honestly. Like if I were listening through the radio, I could close my eyes and I could see the fight when you do play-by-play. Bryce Mitchell is the perfect color commentary guy. Because if there's ever a lull in the fight, if we've got like a Yoel Romero versus Adesanya type thing where we're just shuffling our feet and looking at each other, Bryce is going to fill the silence with some good stuff.
Oh yeah, Guru, I've been reading about Jews. It's like back to the
anyway, good job from Strickland there again.
Romero was actually part of a communist program to make us a Cuban Superman, right? Actually, I did know that.
That's why I have those gay urges.
We're having problems with my Bryce Mitchell's microphone here.
His mic is saying ridiculous shit. Do you have any favorite commentators, Guru?
Oh, I agree with Kyle here. And I do like. I think the new age ones are better. DC and Rogan. There's a thing on commentary where they get so comfortable, where they know they're friends with Dana and they know that the UFC loves them, and they kind of just sort of treat it as a bit of a podcast. And they sit there and they yap. And DC is eating into the microphone, and I just got a text message from so-and-so, and I'm like, there's something going on. Like there's a KO literally happening and unfolding within our very eye, or in front of our very eyes.
In every can. Meanwhile, they're like counting the guy out on the floor. Yeah. Like, what are you
I can't remember the name of one of my favorites. Would you help me? He's handsome. He was one of the smaller champions. Uriah Faber hates him. He's Dominic
Cruz is the guy.
That's it. Thank you. That's what I needed. Yeah, I like Dominic Cruz. He's not always right, but he's actually
one of the commentators that has got the most backlash for the McGregor-Habib fight and the way he was talking about it. But I think that the fact that he is expendable and he can be fired and been got rid of is what makes him good, because that sort of job insecurity is what will make you actually really pay attention and do your research,